Dedication by Ryan Steve Patterson.
Well, with that, let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, we thank you so much for allowing us to gather here today as Lions and friends. We pray your blessing on those that cannot be with us. We pray your blessing on the food that we're eating today, that it will strengthen our bodies and our minds and our souls and our love for you and for each other. Amen.
Amen. Our pledge by Lion Mike Parker.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And our song by Zone Chair, Marilyn Patterson. My country is of the sweet land of liberty, of the I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of thy pilgrim's pride, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Thank you. Bob Session, or Bob Jessen. I'm looking at Cindy saying Bob.
And just for your FYI, I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska for 2 years, and yeah, people driving here is dangerous.
President Ken, fellow members, and guests, we do have a guest in the house. She snuck in right at the end on us. Greg, you want to introduce her, please?
Did she sign in, or did Greg sign her in? Darn.
President Ken, fellow ladies and guests, I'd like to introduce, I think it's the third time Kim's been here, Kim Hampton.
Any other guests? Gail Bradley, Sunshine.
President Ken, fellow Lions and guests, Kyle James, his wife Diane, has been in and out of the hospital. They don't know quite what's going on yet, but it may be her heart. So I do have a card going around.
Greg Firth.
Cindy, do you have anything for Daryl?
President Ken, fellow ladies and guests, a couple announcements. One, I have, if anybody has dues money, I'll take that today. I have a folder for that while Dolly's gone. Tomorrow night is our monthly meeting for our Sight and Hearing Foundation. Anybody is more than welcome to attend, see what we do. It's over at Canterbury Park, second floor, and at 6:30. Thank you.
Cindy Sessions, visitation report. Cindy Pickett. Cindy, will you move to a different chair?
President Ken, members and guests. We have a few things going on here, and I'll let you peruse these as you would like. We have a lot of interesting things going on, and I say something building, friendship building. Anyway, we have the Lions Forum that's going on March 2nd, not this week, in a couple of weeks. So that's really a fun thing to go to. The lunch is free. We can carpool if you have problem getting down there. So just let me know if that's an issue for you. And we have charter night is this Saturday. This is charter night for the Cascadia Tech Leos. And that's a new group, young people starting up. Their dinner is free. We can also carpool there too. And that's February the 22nd, 5:30. And they're having an Italian dinner and dessert. So I'm thinking spaghetti. Yeah. And this Saturday is the Lions 90th anniversary in Vancouver. And then next week, the 18th, we're going to Centralia, and that's at Denny's. The address is right here. I won't go on and on, it's just 1 week at a time. But for those who like to plan ahead, they are up here. You can take pictures of them so you can keep them fresh in your head. Taste at Italy. We had our first meeting last night. It's a little skinny, but I kind of gathered that because of the way the weather was. But the next one is February 26th. So I'm going to be sending out information about our meetings. So if you want to be I heard people. Want to hear what's happening, let me have your email so I can email you and let you know what's going on. And USA Canada Forum is in September, fun thing to do. And then, of course, our own local spring conference is this May. So, and I was with the planning committee. They have a lot of fun things scheduled for that. So think about coming.
Marilyn Patterson, you have a zone report? And education if you want. Whatever.
President Ken, fellow Lions and guests, I just want to expand a little bit on March 2nd with the Lions Learning Forum. That forum is for everyone, and there's so many classes that you can take. That would be great. I'd like to see just a quick hands of who might be going. Okay, there's a few of us. It would be great if there would be more in attendance from pioneers, and you could go to different classes and we could actually share with each other. There's lunchtime, we can share in that way too. And then it is free. Yes, it is free. I know they take donations, but it's not forcing anyone to pay anything. So they also may have asked clubs if they could donate something. We can talk about that later. So I'm going to let it go with that. So Education Committee, there's nothing today. So
Talk about that later. You mean at the board meeting?
yeah, I could.
Well, that's this coming Thursday
I know, I just
at
thought
7
about it.
o'clock about Paul's.
Thank you.
Being as that was brought up, we do have our board meeting this coming Thursday at Bob Paul's Restaurant at 7 o'clock. This coming Thursday. Make sure that you're there. We have a lot of things to discuss. One of those things we're going to discuss and bring to the board is we have gotten the approval from Mark Morris High School to form a Leo Club. We've done a lot of work on that, putting things together. Leroy Purcell has joined me, and we've made some good presentations. Evidently they were good because Mark Morris was excited about it. So we are going to form a Leo Club at the Mark Morris High School, and reluctantly, but with a little pressure, Steve Patterson has agreed to be the advisor to the Leo Club. If any of you are interested, please step up and help. Steve needs all the help he can get.
Well, we know that.
I just want to make sure that everybody's clear about that. He needs help. This is really a great program to put into Mark Morris High School. A lot of things are taking place. There's a lot of things that are going to take place within the next month or the next 6 weeks. So we invite any of you that are interested in joining the advisory group for the Mark Morris Leo Club. Now's the time to step up and let Steve know. Steve, you have something you want to say? Have him contact you. Contact Steve Patterson if you're interested in joining that great effort that we're going to have. Is there anything else from the floor? With that, next week we're going to have a very, very special guest, John Carey, our council chair, will be here to speak. Really going to be great. He was supposed to be here this week, but whatever the white stuff is kept him up at Gig Harbor. So next week, John will be here to speak with everybody. With that, we are going to take the time now to introduce two special guests today that stepped in at the last minute to fill the void from John not being here. We welcome our guests today and try to keep it polite. I know there's a lot of controversy in the community, but we've invited Love Overwhelming to tell us what their program really is instead of reading about it in the newspaper. With that, I would like to introduce Sean Nyman, who is a volunteer with Love Overwhelming, and Chuck Hendrickson, who is the director of Love Overwhelming. Sean?
Thank you. Thank you. Let me see if I do this right. President Ken and Lyons and fellow guest. I did it. I practiced. So I am Sean Nyman. I do not work for Love Overwhelming, even though I've read that in the paper. Although I've worked the last 10 nights at the warming shelter, so I feel like I do. But anyway, I am a board member for Love Overwhelming. My real job is I am a union rep for 7 different school districts, all K-12 employees, so that keeps me kind of busy. And then I volunteer for Love Overwhelming on top of that. Like I said, I'm a board member. I'm also the treasurer currently of Love Overwhelming, but Joe Brewer just joined as a board member, and I am happily going to pass that off to her since she is a CPA. So I'm pleased that she has joined our board. I recently talked to Ken. We were talking about the warming shelter and some other things, and as I'm sharing with him, I'm realizing that as active as Ken is in the community, he didn't know all of what we do, whether it's activities in the community or the programs that we have. So I appreciate the opportunity he invited us today to share about that. Like I said, we're running the warming shelter right now. We're on night 10. And I'm glad that I only have a 7-day forecast to look at a time, because I see we're going to be operating it for another week. What my work with Love Overwhelming is personal. I was homeless when I was in high school, and there was one person that said that I had value, and it made life worth living to me. I went forward with it, and I knew that with my faith and just in my heart, that this was work that I needed to be doing. And so a couple years ago when I met Chuck, I just thought this was where I needed to be, and that's why I continue to volunteer. That's it. I hate being up there. I wear red on purpose because my face will match it. Anyway, I will introduce, this is Chuck, what's your last name? Hendrickson. The director, and the first time I met him, I just said, hey, I'm hearing a whole bunch of stuff about your program, and I want to know about it. Chuck sat down for 3 hours with me that day and went over all of the programs, and I was hooked. And that is the Chuck that a lot of people don't know. So again, I appreciate the opportunity that we get to share. He has a brief presentation about our programs, and mainly we want to field your questions and give you answers. So thank you for having us today.
All right, again, Chuck Hendrickson, both founder and executive director of Love Overwhelming. Thank you for our time here. Lots and lots of stuff being put out there, newspaper and social media as well. So I just want to go over real quick the programs that we have, and then give some times for some question and answers, because a lot of people don't know or realize that when the shelter closed down in Kelso, Love Overwhelming didn't shut down. I got calls from friends even saying, hey, do you need a job? I laughed and said, I still have 12 staff that are full-time. I don't think I have time for another job at that point. But I just want to go through some of the programs that we have. So we do have a health care for homeless program. We have staff that will go out to homeless camps. They will meet people in the community, and they will actually take them to any of their medical or behavioral health appointments that they have. This is a partnership with our federally qualified health center here in Cowlitz County, Family Health Center. We work directly with them, and in fact, it is a great savings to all of us, because we are able to reduce the amount of times that people that are experiencing homelessness access the emergency department room as their primary care. And that's a very big deal. It's a very good cost savings for us. So we actually will set them up with Family Health Center. We'll take them over to those appointments. And behavioral health as well with Columbia Wellness, with any of the substance use disorder programs as well. So it's really neat to be able to see that. We also have a direct relationship with inpatient and detox. Both locally, you saw that Columbia Wellness now has one of those, an inpatient. We work directly with them, have a memorandum of understanding with them, as well as for, there's a place up north that sends a van down here to pick people up and take them to inpatient and detox, because up until a couple weeks ago, we didn't have that in our community. We also operate a supportive employment program. So those of you that have seen legislatively, there was a Medicaid, it was called the Medicaid 1115 waiver. So it got rid of a lot of medical necessity to be able to work with individuals for housing and for employment, because within Medicaid, you're boxed in with the services that you can do within mental health. And this allowed agencies to be able to expand, to be able to help people go out, locate, obtain, and then maintain housing, as well as locate, obtain, and maintain employment. So we actually use, we have over 100 people in program for that. In the last 2 weeks, 4 people have got jobs. That is a huge stat for this community. It is awesome. We are very excited about that. It's great. So we work with all types of businesses in town. We have people that will, staff that go out there and work with them. And then they'll be able to go in there and do a community-based assessment where they're in their job, and our job coach is actually there at the site. And then when they're done, they'll be able to go and do some job coaching on the backside. And we know that many people that don't have jobs for a long time, once they get into a job, there's all the social aspect that goes along with that too, the frustrations, the lack of coping skills that people have. We're able to work with them in that psychosocial rehabilitation model. We also operate a supportive housing as part of that, so they are separate. The employment and housing are separate, but if we get someone in our housing program that needs employment, we're able to work directly together with that. And same thing that we get people in our employment program that need housing, and so we're able to refer back and forth and be able to do that holistically, because not one thing fixes people. There's a whole gamut of areas that are of concern that people, they need help with. They need that assistance and that support. As Love Overwhelming, we believe that when people are supported, that hope is developed. Okay? There's so much hopelessness out there, but when people are supported, that hope is developed. Hope empowers people to take the next step in their recovery, whatever that looks like for them, and in their life journey. And that is a big deal to us, and it's not said enough out there, and people don't understand that, but that is why we meet people right where they are. We don't want people to stay right where they are. We want people to continue and moving forward, period. So that is a lot of people think that we just want to work with people that are in active addiction and we just want them to stay there. That's not true at all. We want them to move forward. We want them to be able to get into housing. We want them to be clean and sober. That's a big piece of what we do. One of the other things that we also do is Laundry Love. Laundry Love was a ministry that was started at a church by this gentleman named Steve, I think Hayes was his last name. I can't remember. Hughes, excuse me, Steve Hughes. And they sought out several different agencies. They went and met with, I think it was 4 different agencies, and ours was the 5th. Actually, he met with Sean and I, and after meeting with us, they decided to take the program Laundry Love and give it to Love Overwhelming. So we currently operate Laundry Love. We do laundry, free laundry for the community. You do not have to be homeless. It's just whoever needs it. At the laundromat on 20th Avenue in the Highlands. We do it on the 1st and 3rd Thursday of the month. And like I said, anybody can come in there. So we have lots of families with kids that are coming in there, not from the Highlands, but also from the schools. So we recognized that during that time after we took it over, that there was this option and opportunity to expand. We worked with Molly DuBois, who is the homeless liaison for the Longview School District, and we made a deal with them where we bought washers and dryers that will be going into Kessler and that will be going into the Broadway school campus. If you aren't aware, those are both Title I schools, meaning 95% or more are on reduced or free lunch. And during that, we actually will have volunteers that will be there, and the homeless liaisons and the liaisons that are in the schools will be able to set up the families to be able to come in and get free laundry service there at the schools, at Kessler, and at Broadway campus. Very brand new that we're doing this. The washer and dryers are already there. We're literally just looking at some plumbing needs, because as you know, plumbing and electrical, we can't just have volunteers. We need professionals in there. Thank you. All right, so we're very, very, very excited about that, because what that means is that the people, that families with children that are in need don't have a washer and dryer at home, or maybe just don't even have the the motivation, if you will, to move forward with that, we're able to work with them and get them into that laundry. And then while they're there doing that laundry, we work with another company called Outreach Inc., and they work within the school districts. And so there are people there that will actually help them. Let's say a mom and kid aren't really well versed at folding clothes. We will have people that will do that for them, not for them, with them, to be able to develop a skill moving forward. And it is surprising and shocking how many people don't understand how to fold, and it's that's a great skill to have moving forward. With that, so Kessler and Broadway schools, like I said, we're excited. I think in the next month we'll have that up and going full time, and you'll hear more about that. So we also, one of the things that we did as for work development, we operate the coordinated entry and assessment system in Cowlitz County. So it is the upfront door and assessment place for any of the subsidies that comes down from the state. So there is a Lower Columbia CAP who has several $1 million in rental assistance for families with children, for young adults, and for singles. And we don't hold that money, but what we do is we do the upfront assessment, and it's all based on vulnerability. So we do an assessment, and they go into a housing pool. And if that assessment has a family with a couple kids in there, and let's say that their vulnerability level is a 9, that we look at who's going to die first on the streets and who's going to be taken advantage of on the streets, because that happens a lot. We put them into a housing pool. Let's say they have a level 9, and then someone else comes in, another family, and their vulnerability level is a 10. We call it a housing pool, not a wait list, because that housing pool floats. So that family that has a vulnerability of 10, that they're more likely to die on the streets or be taken advantage of on the streets, they will go above the family that has scored the 9 on that housing pool. Lower Columbia CAP, Housing Opportunities of Southwest Washington, and a couple other agencies that we work with, and private, the Longview Kelso Ministerial Association. There are times when subsidies, interventions come available. At that time, we take a snapshot of who is the most vulnerable in our county that fits their criteria, and we're able to get them in there. So again, CAP, we just do that information, we take that, we get that snapshot, we give it to CAP, then CAP does the work from there as far as accessing that funding. We also have with that, we also have 12 staff members who are in our work development program within coordinated entry through community jobs program in our local area. It's very, very big to get people into jobs. We recognize that there are a lot of people that have high barriers to employment, and we are an agency that has taken as a social enterprise, we will work with people with those high barriers. And we have literally currently on staff, I have 13 staff members that came through a work development program that would not have a job today if it wasn't for us being able to work with them through those barriers. And that can be, we have one staff that we know has some seasonal depression, and we make sure that person has that time off so that we can make sure that they're taken care of and they're good to be able to work with the people. And not a lot of jobs will make those exceptions. With that, we also took over Hearth Coffee Shop recently in the last several months. With that, we are using that as a work development program as well. We have one staff there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from the ESD 112. High functioning ESD 112 is Educational School District, Service District 112. And so they work with individuals who are developmentally disabled. And so with that, we're able to have people that come in, and as a part of their internship to graduate and to get their diploma, they're working with us several days a week to be able to gain those skills that moving forward that they would actually be able to put onto a resume, use us as a reference. Really, really exciting work. I love, that's probably one of the neater things that I get to be a part of sometimes is seeing, especially that individual being able to, for the last year and a half, she's wanted to be a barista. It was a very big deal to her. And so being able to have her at the coffee shop there, giving high fives after she's made this coffee and stuff, it's just beautiful to see that. And knowing that she's going to be able to use that as on a reference and use us in that aspect, it's beautiful. We love that. We also have some students from Kelso that come over. They're very, very low functioning, and they only get to do certain job duties, but it gives them a social normality to be out in the community and helping out, and it's really, really neat to see that. It's just great to see. With that, we have our, so moving on, we also have a severe weather shelter. This will be the last program that I touch on. Yeah. So severe weather shelter. So we, as you know, there's homelessness is, you know, it's out there. You can see it. So we open up whenever it's 32 degrees or colder, whenever the city of Longview declares that it's a severe weather event. We had 103 people at our shelter 2 nights ago. 103. We have 40 some mats, and the rest of the people are either outside or they're sitting in chairs. It's unfortunate. However, we have realized and we've recognized, obviously, as you guys know, the Lions Shelter has been where people have been going. And we have, as we've opened up the severe weather shelter, we've been monitoring that. How many people are at the shelter when we're open? And we've seen one so far. One. We've been sending Sean out there on missions that when we open up, hey, is this a solution to get people off the streets and especially out from the lake, because that's not meant for people to be there. How do we work with individuals that are experiencing homelessness and find a solution that people can get behind? And as we've opened our severe weather shelter, every night it has been empty at the Lions Shelter. We see a big difference in that when we are open. So we are thankful that we're open. We're thankful that no one has died on the streets because of weather. As we know, it's, you know, that white stuff coming down. Don't want to get fined, right? But you know, it's looking like another 7 to 10 days. Currently, to right now, we have enough money to stay open until Saturday. At that point, next week it's supposed to continue snowing and being cold. We do not know if we will be able to open up overnight because we do not have funding. It takes $295 per night. We are not funded anywhere for this. $295 per night just for our staff. Staff is 16 hours a night when we're open. That's 6 p.m. to 10 a.m. Excuse me. So with that though, is there questions that you guys have about shelter and everything else? Yeah.
Where's the location of the coffee shop?
The coffee shop is 1101 Commerce Avenue. It used to be the old South Pacific. It's right next to the old casino. Across the street from Freddy's for the Halibut. The Roxy Theater, yeah, so it's the Roxy Theater now. Yeah, and so we do the coffee shop there. Like this coming up Friday, we have a fundraiser event for the love of wine. If you guys enjoy wine, we'll be doing that and having a little presentation, and it helps increase rental assistance for families with children in Cowlitz County.
Chuck, what are your funding sources?
We do get some funding from the county. For a permanent supportive housing program, coordinated entry, and diversion and prevention program. We are funded through federally for our supportive employment and supportive housing program. And then our outreach team, which is the Healthcare for Homeless, that is funded through the Federally Qualified Health Center, Family Health Center. And we also have a grant through Kaiser Permanente as well, and that is specifically for permanent supportive housing.
So what is the total budget?
Oh, you would ask that. At this moment, it's right around, hovering right around 700,000 this year.
And how many folks are you serving? I mean, year-round, I mean, not just 103 this week.
Last year, and just in assessments, we did over 1,300 just assessments. We get over 100 calls a week for families with children that are in housing that are about to be homeless. We had to make a relationship with Longview Kelso Ministerial Association because the state got away from any prevention dollars that trickled down to our county. So if there's a family who just needs $75 to be able to maintain their housing so they don't become homeless, there's no funding for that. We made a relationship with Longview Kelso Ministerial Association. They hold the money, we do the assessment. We're a line item now on over 20 churches because of that. And we also have a Help Us Move In program that's specifically for families with children, the same thing.
Tell them just briefly about Help Us Move In.
Oh yeah, and Help Us Move In is matched dollar for dollar. That's what the fundraiser on Friday is all about too. So if you look at helpusmovein.org, they have all our stuff on there, and they are out of Olympia, and they fund that. It's a grant for that. So we've actually helped over 100, in the last 2 years, over 100 families with 100 and, I wrote this down here, 136 children, and that was over the last 2 years, and it was like $60-some thousand that we were able to raise, 30 of it, and then 30 was matched. So it's a great program, keeping families with children in housing or helping them with the first, last, and deposit. Most landlords require 3 times the amount of income that the rent is, and that's just undoable for most people. Is there any other questions?
I'm just add a couple things. So the Help Us Move In that he's talking about, the matched funds, Family Promise is out there and they're trying to get up and going, and they're waiting, I think, for two or three more churches to sign on, but they are not operating yet. And so, I think that has been out there, that yay, that there is this support for families and children. There isn't yet. And so this Help Us Move In group, which is statewide, nationwide, came to us and said, we see that there is a deficiency for that in the community. You're already doing this work. Do you want to partner with us? So we did. And yes, dollar for dollar, although they've kind of changed their program a bit, and they actually want more like business dollars. A business will put up $1,000 and they'll match it, which, gets a little frustrating to us because, we are targeting anybody in the community who wants to help. And so families with children is a priority. And I know he got more into the weeds, but to me, the whole coordinated entry piece is a prioritization. It goes to the county, somebody gets the program right now, Love Overwhelming implements it, and anybody throughout the county that is the homeless or experiencing homelessness calls, and then they get on this priority list. So what I hear from folks that I know is like, why do we have all these folks over there in the Lions Shelter or wherever that look able-bodied? Why aren't they doing something? Why aren't we doing something with them? Well, first of all, and I'm speaking for myself, Love Overwhelming isn't fully responsible for every homeless person in the county, although if we could, we would be. And with the prioritization, eventually, and there are limited funds, despite what you read in the paper, the more people that are bussed in, which they aren't, we don't get more money for that. In fact, it's very frustrating for all the agencies in the community who have, here's the amount that you have, this is how many it will service, and they have to decide, are we going to pick 1 or 2 a month? Are we going to just meet everybody's needs, and when we run out, there may be 9 months of, I'm sorry, we can't provide that service anymore. And so for me as a volunteer, and many like me, it's very frustrating. There are not unlimited funds for any agency or entity here. And I am pleased that regardless of whether there are glitches or whatever it is, that the emergency funding for inclement weather shelter is not immediately available. We put that information out there. Like and I'll give you my dollar. The snow is here, and the snow is going to keep coming, and people are still going to want to get out of the weather, and we are going to make our shelter available. And he's right. We have 45 mattresses. We have maybe another 10 or 15 chairs, and folks will curl up in the corner. It was not, the building that we're in was not meant to be a long-term shelter, but we will not close our doors, and we will continue to hound poor Ken and the commissioners and whoever we need to supplement it. But the need is there, you know it. And the bottom line, and we are here because there is a focus on the Lions Shelter, and we do understand that, and we do respect all of you about what is happening there. And I've gone there personally and say, pick up that broom and sweep that up, my best mama voice, and they do it. And there are others, and there are just people in our world that don't respect that. But we do respect the Lions Shelter. We wish there was someplace else for them to go. There has been. And again, I look around this crowd and I see people shaking their head and not throwing tomatoes, and we appreciate that. We've done a lot of work over the last couple of years. We do want to be good neighbors, and we do have neighbors over there that we have conversations with. Thank you. I know he wants to run me out of there, but thank you. I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for having us here. Chuck's going to leave his card. You can find me on Facebook. Again, thank you.
Chuck and John, thank you for coming and telling us just what Low Overwhelming is really about. One of the things we like to invite all club members, we have a board meeting this coming Thursday, 7 o'clock a.m. at Bob Paul's restaurant. I forgot where we were going. Do you have something? You just going like that? Okay. We got 5 of them, yeah. Anyhow, our board meeting coming up. Don't forget, if any of you are interested in the LEO program, get in touch with Steve Patterson. It's going to be a fantastic journey and a great, great experience. A lot of neat things happening. With that, we're going to them. We're going to give them the mug and the application. According to Steve Patterson, our past district governor, and we're glad he's passed, we would like to present you or Chuck, whichever one wants it, a mug. This is for coffee, not for beer. Okay?
I'm gonna drink beer. It's beautiful.
And one of you get the opportunity to become one of the most famous people in the world. That's a Pioneer Lion. We give you the application, fill it out. Greg Firth is our, stand up Greg and wave to him. He's our membership chairman, and we will be able to have you installed in the club within a month.
Hey, I served in the burger thing, as long as Hal isn't in the burger. Oh, there he is.
He's our main cook.
Actually, it was. I have pictures, Hal. I have pictures. Anyway, it was actually one of the most
If you
fun
have
things
pictures
ever.
of Hal working, we
I
would
have-
like to see them. That would be interesting.
He was
Cindy-
sitting on a bench, okay? He was sitting on a bench.
Cindy Pickett, get some pictures from her about Hal working. Those would be great on our book.
It was fun.
Slow motion.
There has to be slow motion. Anyhow, drawing time. Time for the dessert drawing. Me and who else?
Actually, President Ken, George Moore gets first choice. And Jim Reinicke gets second.
Both of the ugliest guys in the room? I can't believe that. Okay. Blue ticket. 233. 83. 0. 9. No. Okay, right here. He's coming right behind you. Get ready. How much money's in the pot?
$301.
That's not even worth winning.
301? Okay, red ticket. 657. 066.
Medicine capital.
My lovely wife wins again. She won me and she won last week and this week. That's your 3 winners. With that, don't forget that we have our senility. Do we have senility?
Unfortunately, Mr. President, we do. Bill and David Palmer actually signed in,
Hal Palmer
and Pat,
and Pat.
and no one named Smith actually signed in.
Who?
Walt Marie.
Walt and Marie, they just walked in and sat down. Marie, I feel sorry for you.
Thank you.
But,
So do I.
so do you, okay. With that, thank you all for coming today, and we appreciate all the time and effort you put in.